Shikumen No. 1 Road, 251, No. 18, is an elegant and quiet garden house located in the southeast corner of the entire Zhangyuan complex. The three-story main building is decorated in a style combining simplicity and romantic sophistication. The frame-like columns with a sense of linearity and the variation on Corinthian order on the lintel are magnificent and dignified. The cartouche with Ionic motifs and the brackets with olive leaf patterns are elaborate and exquisite, enriched with an artistic sense. The interior is adorned with extravagance. Teak siding exudes a touch of quaintness. The stained patterned windows form a delightful combination with the volute ornaments on the doorframe. The grand wooden staircase with delicately carved newel posts bears Baroque and Rococo features. The building was constructed in 1926. Gu Dingzhen, a financier and entrepreneur, used to be its owner in the 1930s. He was the chairman of China General Merchants Trust Company, the first professional trust and investment institution in China. Gu Dingzhen played an active role in the business world for many years. He was a well-rounded and accommodating person who had connections among various groups of stakeholders and significant influence in the industrial and financial fields. After liberation, the first state-owned traditional Chinese medicine institution in the People's Republic of China was established here, the Chinese Medicine Clinic, affiliated to the Shanghai Health Bureau. Most of the stories about this building have been hidden in the fume of history. Perhaps at some point in the future, those vivid stories will be uncovered by someone again, unexpectedly. On the southern side of the Zhang Yuan complex lies a detached four-story mansion. This beautiful architecture, the tallest in Zhang Yuan complex, bears the general character of eclecticism, presenting a fusion of Western classic, Baroque, and Rococo features with a touch of Oriental art. The plain red brick walls granitic plaster finish harmonize with each other, and the elaborate Baroque elements form a delightful contrast with the simple Art Deco molding. The art of architecture at this time was less bound to fixed forms and laid more emphasis on the aesthetic integration and proportional balance of the various genres. The house was built in 1932 by Wang Hian-chung, a comprador for the British Chartered Bank. In those days, Wang Hian-chung was the highest paid among his contemporary counterparts, with a monthly salary of 500 taels. After spending a few years here, Wang Hian-chung sold it to another owner for financial managing purposes. At the beginning of the Sino-Japanese War, the mansion was taken over by the family of Gensing Lee, who owned one of the 8 giant Beijing-based silk brands, also known as Badaxiang. The mansion was then sublet to tenants with various backgrounds who came to Shanghai for refuge, turning itself into a melting pot. This mansion has witnessed the rise and fall of a family and the growth of a city with its own longevity. Today, the glory of the old days has long since faded. New life has its journey to unfold. What story awaits it? In the Zhang Yuan complex, on the northwest side of its main lane, lies a detached garden house, number 77, 590 Weihai Road. The house was designed in 1921 by the British architects Graham, Brown and Wingrove. The new building of Brunner, Mond & Co. at 133 Middle Sichuan Road and the Kaduri House at 64 West Yan'an Road were both designed by these two. House number 77 is in neoclassical architecture, harmoniously combining Eastern and Western styles. The main building consists of 3 stories with a garden at the front and an annex at the rear. The ground floor of the main building is an open veranda, and the first floor is an enclosed corridor. Roofed with a dome, the circular hall in the center has a perfect symmetry. The whole building resembles a butterfly with spread wings. Doors and window frames, the decorations on the facade, and other detailed parts of the building also bear Baroque-style features. The original owner of house number 77 was Wang Qin-chung, a comprador for Citibank, who was one of the first to propose the use of title deeds to secure loans from the bank. In 1919, at the end of the First World War, when he first became a comprador, Citibank imported a large quantity of gold coins, through which he gained considerable profit as an agent. His family moved into this garden house. However, during the Second Sino-Japanese War, a large amount of Chinese real estate was destroyed. Wang Qin-chung was devastated and passed away in 1944. In the tides of times, through the changes of things, house number 77 has changed hands several times, but its charm and grace remain, presenting a distinctive sight at Zhangyuan complex. With its subtle sandstone finishes, the flowing lines of its pediment, pilasters and mouldings, the elegant Greek columns, and its fine wooden staircases and newel posts, this mansion bears the significant Baroque decorative features which have been typical amongst Western-styled architecture after Shanghai became a commercial port. This mansion, enclosed by a main building, an annex and a central courtyard, located at number 89, 590 Weihai Road. It is a typical garden house of the modern era in Shanghai. The house formerly belonged to the son of Li Hongjiang's nephew, Li Yinxuan. He dedicated his life to archaeology, collection and conservation of cultural relics, without seeking fame or fortune. Even to this day, when you visit the Bronze Museum at the Shanghai Museum, you would still see the name Li Yinxuan and Qiu Hui on the introduction plate of many items in the collection, marking them as the donors. After the liberation of Shanghai, this house was first used as an office for the Shanghai People's Procuratorate and later as the People's Court for the newly developed urban district. After that, it was turned into a street factory, the fourth semiconductor factory. In 2014, it was transformed into a dining bar of fashion and entertainment. Changing times have left all kinds of traces on this place, just like the city of Shanghai, embracing her guests from all over the world with an open heart of inclusiveness. Today, the elegant old buildings and the skyscrapers of the modern city form a delightful contrast, like two parts of a choir, harmonizing with each other, though a century apart. Wukong Mansion, Garden of Psyche, Park Hotel, Grand Cinema, Greenhouse. These brilliant buildings are located over the city of Shanghai like scattered pearls, sparkling in magnificence, and all owe their origin to the hand of Hungarian designer Duching. His magical hand has also designed an independent garden house at Sherman Road, number 1, 315, number 6, with a blended style of Eastern and Western. It occupies an exclusive corner with its grace and charm. The building was originally called the Great Mansion of Xietiao Lane, completed in December 1932. It was originally the residence of Wu Pei Chu, the comprador of Citibank. The whole building is made of exquisite materials and elaborately decorated. Extending colonnade, an open balcony facing the south, the spiral columns, the gently tilting roof of cylindrical tiles, and the grand staircase with 3 turns, all demonstrate the splendor of Western-style architecture. While the dragon and phoenix elaboration on the ceiling, the pattern of clouds and auspicious characters in the decorations present the Oriental aesthetics. From a refugee prisoner of war in the Far East to a world-renowned architect, Ladislav Duching was sheltered and appreciated by the city of Shanghai. In turn, he left a memorable spiritual legacy to his second hometown. This building stands silently here, telling the love story of an artist with a city. Duching Lee is located in the northwest corner of Zhangyuan. As part of the Zhang Yuan complex, it preserves the space for the original new-style Shikumen architecture, as well as its character and form, documenting the traces of life in modern Shanghai. Duching Lee was built by Zhou Chunqing. He and his elder brother Zhou Xiangyun belonged to the Zhou family, the famous real estate magnates of modern Shanghai history. At their peak, the Zhou family was ranked 5th amongst all taxpayers listed in the records at the Ministry of Industry and Commerce. Zhou Chunqing also owned the first car license in Shanghai. Today, only the 3 rows on the south side of Duching Lee still exist. The main house is of brick and wood construction, the walls initially of brick and later in concrete with stone lining. Balconies extending outwards form a well-organized rhythm together with the triangular-shaped pediments. The main gate facing the lane is designed in the style of a cavalry tower, with a simple lintel inscribed with the words Duching Lee. The traditional decorative symbols along the street facade endow the building with a very distinctive look. The people who have lived here are now gone, while the old buildings after more than a century are still breathing, thriving in this city, waiting to return to their former glory. Chun Young Lee consists of two old-style lane houses with a similar format. They are of brick timber structure in joint row layout. Chun Young Lee features a simple and elegant look in general. Plain brick walls are decorated with a band of red bricks. The pediment, as well as the door and window frames, bear ornamental carvings. Triangular roofs are paired with occasionally extended balconies. The artistic design of the grey and red Shikumen doorway, with Chun Young Lee and Zhangyuan Lee written on the doorway, tells of the owner's wishes and prayers for good luck and happiness. The second generation owner of Retreat and Reflection Garden, Chuan Ren, once lived here. Ren founded the Lizi Girls' School, which was one of the earliest girls' schools in China, and pioneered the education of girls in China. In 1937, Ren Chuanqi, Lu Sumian and others founded the Shanghai National Academy in Shanghai to promote the national spirit through the study of national culture. Over the past 100 years, generations of residents have left various traces in the area. Today, Chun Young Lee will carry the variegated memories and take on a new luster again in the urban renewal. Rui Lee, located in the middle of the Zhangyuan complex, consists of two rows of Shikumen buildings close to the main lane, with easy access and a serene surrounding. Walking in through the antique wooden doors and windows, one could see those old times flickering in lights and shadows. Even as the constellations shift and the stars move by, these vintage Victorian horizontal lines of plain brick, a cantilevered balcony with scroll-shaped ornaments on the beams, and the simple triangular pediment still seem to speak softly of the history of this place. Wu Mei-sun, a famous book collector and literatus of the Republic of China, lived at number 4, Lane 69, in his later years, where he collected tens of thousands of volumes of books, among them many fine editions. It was also here at Pseudely Lee that the life of Deng Qiumei, coin collector and connoisseur, left its mark. In 1901, he founded the Shenzhou Guoguangshe Press in Shanghai. In January of the next year, he launched Zhengyi Tungbao, a bulletin paper for politics and art, and became its editor-in-chief. Heaven gives its blessing and shows its great virtues. Rui Lee provided these literati with their last refuge in their later years. At one time, they saw Zhang Yuan as a place for gathering guests, admiring flowers, and raising toasts, where music and buzz filled its playhouse. The Zhang Yuan of today no longer boasts the hustle and bustle of the past, but has gained an extra touch of elegance. It is through these buildings that the city of Shanghai seeks its profoundness. In the southeast corner of the Zhangyuan complex lie 3 rows of old-style Shikumen block-built residences called Hua Yan Lee. The walls of red clay-facing brick, the clean lines of the cruciform masonry, the marks left by time on the decorative flooring, and the red wooden shutters all tell the story of its near century-long history, bathed in the wind and rain. Built in the 1920s, Hua Yan Lee was owned by Wang Bo-chun, a pioneer of the Chinese Tongmenghui and the founder of Daxia University, which is also known as the Columbia University in the East. Business and real estate industry amassed a large fortune for Wang Bo-chun, all of which he invested in education in China. In 1937, after the Battle of Shanghai broke out, more and more refugees came to the concessions to shelter from the unrest. The famous Qian family from Zhejiang, who were descendants of Qian Nongxun, also came to Zhangyuan. They established a volleyball team and played as its main force. The famous volleyball player and coach Qian Jiaxiang has his roots in this volleyball team of the lanes. Number 28 was his home. During the turbulent times, the young men of the volleyball team in the lanes brought some vitality to this place, laying the foundation for the further development of volleyball in China. Looking back on history, a century has passed in the blink of an eye. With the start of a new round of renovations in Zhangyuan, Hua Yan Lee will be greeted with a brand new future. Duching Lee, located on the western side of the Zhangyuan complex, adjacent to North Maoming Road, consists of 3 lanes of block-built Shikumen buildings. It is a typical old-style Shikumen lane, featuring clear grey-facing brick walls, decorated with a band of clay brick inlay. The flowing lines of the pediment and the floral carvings around the doors and windows create an interesting rhythm. The construction of Duching Lee started in 1921. Its owner was the financial comprador Wang Hiancheng. Wang Songtang, who worked at the time at the General Consulate of America in Shanghai, once lived here. He was one of the founders of the Red Cross charity of 3 provinces in northeast China, the predecessor of the Red Cross Society of China. It was here that he provided relief to the victims of disasters. Over the past 100 years, Duching Lee went through the vicissitudes of the foreign concession. Its prime is the up-down corner, as well as its ebb, as it was divided and sublet to dozens of families. These houses accompanied people through countless days and nights in silence, incarnating the charm of the old times in Shanghai, witnessing the footsteps of the new era. They turn into many memories that are not to be erased. And it is these memories that endow modern Shanghai with its vivid temperament and character. As Winston Churchill once said, "We shape our buildings Thereafter, they shape us. Built in 1925, Rui Lee consists of 2 rows of old-style Shikumen Lilong houses with east-west layouts. Unlike the rest of the Lilongs, the facades of these 2 rows of buildings in Rui Lee are not identical, but feature clear grey brick walls and clear red brick walls, respectively, hence their nickname, sister houses. The vine and leaf decorations on the pediment bear the characters of Western-style architecture, while the diamond-shaped window adornments are typical of Chinese style. Its artistic style combines East and West, reflecting the eclectic character of architecture in this period in Shanghai. Wang Juru, a financial magnate of the last Qing dynasty and early Republican era, once lived here. He was the general manager of Anyu Bank and served as director of the Shanghai General Chamber of Commerce. He was a big name on the Bund at that time, establishing many connections with the art world. Zhang Daqian once collaborated with others to create a portrait for him. During the anti-Japanese war, Wang Juru's son Wang Tiefu abandoned his affluent life and joined the new Fourth Army. However, he was arrested during the South Anhui incident and sacrificed in Shangrao concentration camp at the age of 28. Today, the chants of merchants and elegies of heroes have faded away with the passing years. Only this silent building stands tall through a century of time. However, history has not forgotten all this. As Liu Xun said, there will always be a time to remember them, to talk about them. Built in the 1920s, Tonfu Lee consists of 2 Shikumen houses of the same form, with 3-room and 2-room interiors. The facade of Tonfu Lee features clear brick walls of alternating grey and red colour, partially decorated in both Baroque style and with traditional Chinese motifs, which shows a combination of Chinese and Western architectural forms. Traces are left by the years in Tonfu Lee, which also quietly narrates its past. Master of Chinese Studies Zhang Taiyan and Zhang Yuan have significant ties. In the early 20th century, it was here that he manifested his anti-Qing position by cutting off his hair and dressing in a foreign fashion. It was also here that he delivered a rousing speech, voicing his heartfelt belief that revolution is necessary and cannot be ignored. In 1927, in order to avoid being a wanted man, Zhang Taiyan came to Zhang Yuan again in his later years and moved to number 8 Tonfu Lee and then to number 10 in 1930. During the 7 years he lived here, Zhang Taiyan left behind many interesting stories. To date, Tonfu Lee has gone through nearly a century of life. Those who lived here have come and gone. Together, they have authored the memoirs of Zhang Yuan and the memoirs of the old Shanghai. And such writing will be carried on and on in the future. Pseudely Lee is an L-shaped two-story lane building designed in 1932 by the architectural department of the Da Yao Construction Company. The main body of Pseudely Lee adopted clear red brick walls, partially decorated with granitic plaster finish. The simple lines of the window and door frames, as well as that of the pediment, bear the characteristics of Art Deco. The interior layout is compact and carefully planned, therefore spacious and well lit. The mouldings and floor tiles take on a simple and elegant style. The owner of Pseudely Lee was Wang Hian-chung, a comprador for the British Chartered Bank. Originally, it was a property he bought for his three sons. The three houses were connected next to each other and were only 1 block away from his own garden house, making it convenient for keeping in touch with each other. However, as things happen, soon after the construction of the house was completed, Wang Hian-chung had to sell the property due to investment failure. The property changed hands. House 1 of Pseudely Lee also welcomed a new owner, Songju Court, who was the head of office of the Allied forces of the 5 provinces in Shanghai. After leaving the swirling world of politics, he lived a peaceful life here, where he could pick up sword dance at dawn as a hobby and rested at dusk. Specializing in finance, he served as director of Taiping Insurance and was one of the initiators of Futung Commercial Bank. For the old buildings, the vicissitudes of nearly a century in the human world are the decorations bestowed by all these years of time. As for all those stories accumulated throughout these circles of seasons, one may wonder how the descendants will carry them on. Gensing Lee, located on North Maoming Road, designed by the British firm Brant & Rogers Limited Architects, is a typical Shikumen Li Lung residence. The facade on the west side of Gensing Lee presents a surface of plain red brick wall from above the first floor and extended balcony with elaborate iron railings. The western decoration, Baroque gatehouse, and other details are very classic in style. Here once lived the famous Chinese philatelist Zhang Yuan. His book, The Vicissitude of Philately, is a rich source of historical information for the research in the history of Chinese philately. Here was also the residence of the patriotic entrepreneur Wang Xingliao. With patriotic enthusiasm, he initiated and propelled the movement to promote domestic products during the Sino-Japanese War. After the liberation of Shanghai, he made great contributions to the transformation of industry and commerce, as well as to the construction of socialism. He was well received by Mao Zedong and Zhou Enlai on many occasions. The people who once lived here have endowed Gensing Lee with diverse charm. Be it the residence of a philatelist or a patriotic industrialist, be it a place for the highbrows or a place for pragmatism, the marks they left behind may be blurred by the wind and rain of over a century, but remain ever so profound, if not even more so. Built in 1930, Gian Court consists of 3 rows of parallel north-south oriented Shikumen houses. The facade of Gian Court features a plain red brick wall with window frames of black cast iron. Pediment, window and door casings are finished with granitic plaster, decorated with abstract geometric figures, which is typical of the Art Deco style. The owner of Jian Place was P.C. Wu, a Citibank comprador, who had both financial resources and investment insight, and favoured the site located in the middle of Zhangyuan. After the completion of Gian Court, the quiet, elegant character of the estate and the busy, prosperous surroundings soon attracted many well-off families to move in. After the incident of September 18, 1931, the travellers in Jiangnan who were concerned about their homeland back in northeastern China established their Association of Fellowship at number 25 of Gian Court. The Association of Assistance for Northeast Anti-Japanese United Army had temporarily set its office here. The association actively raised funds for soldiers fighting on the front line in the northeast and organized a voluntary contingent who rushed northwards to support. In a moment of critical national crisis, a resounding roar of anti-Japanese patriotism echoed over Zhangyuan complex. The vicissitudes of the years leave their marks here, while the story of this place is far from over. In the city's change and renewal, Gian Court will find its promising future. Songju Court is a two-row old stone storehouse lane located in the central area of Zhangyuan. The south wing is home to the owner, while the north wing is for rent. House 11 to 15 facing the south feature is a 5-room layout, which is very unique not only in Zhangyuan complex, but also in Shanghai's Shikumen architecture. The architectural style of Songju Court is a blend of West and East, with the facade of multiple pediments and the brickwork pattern of Bond and Voissoir, endowing it with an elegant and classy character. The decent granitic plaster finish facade, paired with a simple decorative line work, bear the signature of Art Deco style. The triangular pediment on the window frames and the cantilevered balcony with scroll-shaped ornaments on the beams presents rather a touch of Baroque. Chun Ding, the manager of Jincheng, who was a member of a prominent family in Dinghai, spent his later years in Songju Court. He was one of the second detachment of children in the Chinese educational mission and was the only one who studied at Harvard University. After his return to China, Chun Ding served as Deputy Commissioner of Customs as the first Chinese to fill this position. At the age of 82, this old gentleman who loved wearing suits and drinking brandy passed away in this building of Zhangyuan complex, leaving the stories of the generation and the history of times behind in the wind. However, the old house bearing the marks of their lives will nurture more stories in the new era. Yongning Alley is located in the central district of Zhangyuan and was built in the 1920s. It consists of 2 rows of Shikumen Lilong buildings, combining Chinese and Western architectural styles with clear grey brick walls and a single band of red brick inlay. The lintel of the Shikumen building is decorated with Baroque floral decorations. The unique shape of pediment is called Guanyin Do and features graceful and smooth lining. The exquisitely patterned tile flooring and intricate wooden ornaments indicate the aesthetic sense of the owner. This was once the home of Yu Zuoting, a patriotic merchant and a representative member of the Ningbo Merchant Club. He started as an apprentice and rose to become the director of several banks and enterprises, as well as the chairman of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce. He was a significant financier and banker in the Republic of China. During the times of poverty and disadvantage, not only did Yu launch industries and advocate the national products, but he also established a special school for commerce and proposed a series of financial theories, leading the generation during the transition from traditional banking to modern finance. Shanghai today is no longer the devastated land that Yu had faced back then. Now that China has risen to the forefront of the world economy, his former residence is a witness to it, the takeoff of a city and of a country. These 2 rows of brick timber structured houses were built in the 1920s. The facade of the building is made of clear grey bricks with a red brick inlay, integrated by granite cornerstones. The red wooden door and window frames, as well as the wooden veneer, are decorated with diamond shapes and right-angled lines. The 3 houses in Lane 56 have a small garden in front of the door, instead of the Shikumen facade, the style of which is very close to that of today's townhouses. The inscriptions on the plaques on the lintels of the 2 houses in Lane 64 are clearly recognizable to this day. One reads Bao Pu Ji Lu and the other Br Jiangu. The 4 characters Br Jiangu, which mean enjoy blessings and peace, can be traced back to the poem Tian Bao in Classic of Poetry, chapter Lesser Court Hymns. It expresses the expectations of the builders for their lives. In the 1930s, these 2 rows of Shikumen were purchased by Yang Rui-sheng, the founder of Yang Rui-ji Construction Company. Yang Rui-ji Construction Company was once very well known in Shanghai, undertaking a large number of important projects. The Xinguang Theatre, the China Hotel, the Paris Theatre and Seymour House were all built by this construction company. Yang Rui-sheng was kidnapped twice in his life and had to spend a great amount of ransom to get out. The latter of these was in 1934 when he was living here. In those turbulent days, the words Br Jiangu did not grant Yang Rui-sheng a peaceful life. When we look back at history after a century, we realize that prosperity and peace require a strong nation and a stable society to guarantee it. Number 1, Lane 72, Weihai Road 590, is a 3-story Shikumen Lilong house with clear grey brick walls and red brick inlay. It was built in 1928 and used to be the site of the private Guangming Middle School and Primary School. In 1942, Chung Di-he, a student of Fudan University, together with a group of progressive students from St. John's, Fudan and Aurora College for Women, leased this place and founded the Shuchun Voluntary Night High School. At this time during the war, the night school aimed at educating people for the community, awakening the people. It accepted unemployed and out-of-school youth from the society, teaching them knowledge, inspiring their minds, and encouraging them for revolution. It gradually became one of the spots for the underground activities of the communists. In 1946, due to the pressure of the political situation at the time, Shuchun Voluntary Night High School was forced to move out, ending 4 years of night schooling, enlightening the people, and spreading the seeds of revolution. As the years passed, the students of that time have long since passed away, leaving behind only the green vines on this wall, who bore witness to the glory of the past. Nevertheless, the seeds that were sown have been spread all over China, bringing out a whole new world. Number 3 to 7, Lane 72, Weihai Road 590, is an independent building with 3 door numbers, located in the center of the Zhangyuan complex. This building of brick timber structure is a typical old-style Shikumen Lilong. The clear, plain grey brick wall is partially embellished with granitic plaster finish. The geometric European-style elements on the window and door frames, as well as the mirror and leaf vine decorations on the lintel, bear Western-style features. The plaque at the entrance of number 5 is inscribed with the 4 seal characters Ru Hui Su Fei. These 4 characters can be traced back to a verse from Classic of Poetry, which reads, "Like the wings of a bird, like a flying jungle fowl," describing the magnificence and splendor of the house. The owner of the Shanghai International Photo Studio, Wang Tingquei, once lived here. He was a figure in the photographic industry at the time, and was the 2nd chairman of Shanghai Photographic Studio Association. The Shanghai International Photo Studio was pretty famous in Shanghai at that time, and Zhang Lingfu, the famous general in the anti-Japanese war, had his wedding photos taken there. The photo of Mei Lanfeng and Fu Zhifeng with their students was also taken in the International Photo Studio. The old buildings are like a photo studio with old photos on display. Although these vivid past stories have faded with time, they flash vaguely with the creaking sound of the door opening and closing, making people briefly recollect the images and sentiment of the past. Number 9 to 11, Lane 72, Weihai Road 590, is a 2-story, old-style Shikumen Lilong architecture. The plain, red brick walls are adorned with simple geometric lines and floral decoration, paired with door and window frames with granitic plaster finish. The owner of the building was Hua Yan Lee, the King of Gold, and the owner of Tonfu Gold Company in Shanghai. Hua Yan Lee was the chairman and one of the founders of the Shanghai Gold Business Exchange. In the 1930s, the Shanghai Gold Business Exchange was the largest gold trading center in the Far East, second only to London and New York in terms of trading volume of gold. Genealogically from Wu County of Suzhou, Hua Yan Lee asked Ye Xiangbin, a famous epigrapher of the time, who was also a great craftsman of the Shanghai School in Calligraphy and Seal Carving, to inscribe the words Dongwu Shizi on the plaque at the entrance of this Shikumen building, which conveyed the expectation of longevity and prosperity. Another big name of this place is Cai Fu Teng, a comprador. Cai Fu Teng was a well-connected man. He was a confidant and English translator of Du Yue Sheng. He was also among the founders of the gang organization Heng Shi. Even though he intentionally kept a low profile around Zhang Yuan, the general public did not dare to approach due to his complicated social background. Once it was a place where financial tycoons had their way around, a place where people of all classes and occupations flocked together, where the sorrows and joys played out in people's lives, where the vicissitudes of an era were recorded. It has been a concrete and concentrated silhouette of the city of Shanghai for 100 years. Lane 84, Weihai Road 590, is 2 rows of Shikumen buildings with joint row layout located in the northern part of the Zhangyuan complex. The clear red brick walls are quaint and elegant. The pediments are decorated with conical symbols of good fortune. The top of one of the pediments is shaped to resemble an official's hat, which is a symbol of the builder's vision of a promising future. Lane 84 was built in 1929. It is classified as a mid to late stage Shikumen building. The construction technology of this time had improved in comparison with the earlier years, employing modern techniques such as concrete and cast iron and bearing distinctive characteristics of the times. The building was once the home of the Chungde Charity Association, a public welfare organization during the Republic of China. Hua Yan Lee, the chairman of Chungde Charity Association, was a well-known philanthropist and patriot in Shanghai. He was known as a good Samaritan and a social savior by all walks of life. After making his fortune in the field of business, Hua Yan Lee always kept in mind the family motto, that the sundial should be oriented to charity. He devoted himself to charity for more than 50 years, contributing to the founding of several charitable organizations, including the Chungde Charity Association in Zhangyuan. In those turbulent times, this place had sheltered orphans who had no food to eat, warmed women and children who had no clothes to wear, cured patients who had no funds to seek medical treatment, giving a glimmer of hope to the poor people in the world of chaos. From the benevolence of charity to the focus of people's welfare in urban renewal of Zhangyuan, the temperature of this city of Shanghai has always been echoing in people's hearts, like the sweet melody of the wind chimes touched by a light breeze. For a long time, This detached garden house on the north side of Zhangyuan never had an official name. Those who live in the neighborhood call it the Duching Lee residence. Jing'an was one of the shareholders of the Zhonglian Enterprise Company. In the 1940s, he purchased this property. Here, he and his family enjoyed a few years of happiness, temporarily. It is a two-story house with wooden brick structure, with its exterior resembling a boat on a voyage. The round window on the plain red brick wall reminds one of a porthole, decorated with elaborate carvings. The interior design employs a delicate stained glass featuring nautical charts and writings. Spiral wooden stairs are matched with an elegant parquet floor. A bridge and a creek lie among the greenery in the courtyard. Occidental decorative art is integrated into Eastern residential tradition. On the 27th of January 1949, the Taiping, a ship chartered by the Zhonglian Enterprise Company, collided with another vessel, the Gian Yuan. Both ships sank consecutively, leaving nearly 1,000 passengers and crew members buried under the waters. While the other 5 shareholders of the enterprise vanished and could not be contacted, Qingyun Zhou stepped forward and sold the family fortune to compensate the families of the victims. After moving out of the house, it took Zhou, his wife, and his children 33 years to pay off their debt. Today, the house has undergone several changes of hands, but it is still known as the Zhou Qingyun House. The vicissitudes of nearly a century have burnt their marks on it, but have not changed its true color. The value of the house, as well as the credo of commitment, have never faded in people's hearts.